They know who's behind the haunting disappearances of astronauts. You may have heard of the famous Soviet cosmonauts, like Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, or Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space. But did you know that there were other cosmonauts who were erased from history, whose names and fates were hidden from the public eye? These are the lost cosmonauts, the victims of a ruthless cover-up by the Soviet authorities. In this video, we'll follow up the trail of Elon Musk, who has been trying to uncover their story. So let's get started. Musk is a visionary entrepreneur who wants to make humanity a multiplanetary species. He has been competing and collaborating with Yuri Gagarin, the head of the Russian space agency, Roscosmos, in a modern-day version of the space race that started in the 1950s. The space race was a period of intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers locked in a Cold War, both sides wanting to improve their technological and ideological superiority. By achieving milestones in space exploration, the race began. The race continued with more firsts. The first animal in orbit, Laika, a dog sent by the Soviets. The first human in orbit, Gagarin. The first woman in orbit, Tereshkova. And the first spacewalk, Alexei Leonov, another Soviet. But not everything went smoothly for the Soviets. They also suffered setbacks and failures, some of which they tried to conceal from the world. For example, in 1960, they attempted to launch 2 rockets carrying dogs and humans into orbit, but both exploded on the launch pad, killing everyone on board. The Soviets denied that these launches ever happened, and instead they announced that they had successfully launched 2 satellites. But there was one source of information that they could not control: radio transmissions. Some amateur radio operators claimed that they had intercepted distress signals from cosmonauts who had been launched into space but were never returned. These signals were allegedly recorded by 2 Italian brothers, Achille and Giovanni Giudica Cordelia, who ran a private listening station near Turin. They said that they had heard voices of cosmonauts who had died or gone missing in space between 1960 and 1964. Some of these recordings have been released to the public, and you can hear them for yourself. The authenticity of these recordings has been disputed by many experts, who point out that they contain inconsistencies and errors. Some say that they are hoaxes or fabrications by the brothers or other parties. Others say that they're genuine but misinterpreted signals from satellites or other sources. Others say that they're genuine but misinterpreted signals from satellites or other sources. The Soviet authorities have always denied that they ever lost any cosmonauts in space. But Elon Musk is not convinced. He believes that there is more to the story than meets the eye. He has been using his resources and connections to investigate this mystery, hoping to find out what really happened to these lost cosmonauts. He has been contacting former Soviet officials, engineers, and astronauts who may have some knowledge or clues about this secret history. He has also been accessing archives and documents that may contain evidence or records of these missions. Musk's quest has led him to discover some shocking revelations about the Soviet space program. He has learned that some of these lost cosmonauts were not only victims of accidents or malfunctions, but also of sabotage and murder. He has uncovered a dark conspiracy that involved political rivalries, espionage, and betrayal within the Soviet hierarchy. He has also found that some of these cosmonauts may still be alive, trapped in orbit or on other planets. One of the most tragic cases that Musk has uncovered is that of Soyuz 11, the only crewed mission to visit the world's first space station, Salyut 1. The mission was launched on June 6 in 1971 from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The crew consisted of Georgy Dobrovsky, Vladislav Volkov, and Viktor Patsayev. They were not the original prime crew for this mission, but they replaced them after one of them was suspected to have tuberculosis. For Dobrovsky and Patsayev, this was their first only spaceflight. Volkov had flown before on the Soyuz 7 mission in 1969. The goal of this mission was to dock with the Salyut 1, which had been launched 2 months earlier by the Soviet Union. Salyut 1 was the world's first space station, a remarkable feat of engineering and science. It was designed to host crews for long-duration missions, conduct various experiments, and observe the Earth and the stars. Soyuz 11 crew successfully docked with the Salyut 1 on June 7th and entered the station. They became the first humans to live and work in orbit or They became the first humans to live and work in orbit for an extended period of time. The crew spent 23 days on board Salyut 1, setting a new record for space endurance. They performed many tasks and activities such as testing the station's systems, conducting biomedical research, operating telescopes and cameras, communicating with ground control, the media, and celebrating Dvorsky's birthday. They also faced some challenges and difficulties such as high temperatures, malfunctioning equipment, and noisy fans. Despite these problems, the crew enjoyed their stay on Salyut 1 and reported feeling well and happy. On June 29th, it was time for the crew to return to Earth. They bid farewell to Salyut 1 and boarded their Soyuz capsule. They undocked from the station at 6:28 GMT and began their descent. They undocked from the station at 18:28 GMT and began their descent. Everything seemed normal until they reached an altitude of about 168 kilometers. At that point, a pressure equalization valve in the capsule malfunctioned and opened prematurely. This caused a rapid loss of air pressure inside the capsule, exposing the crew to the vacuum of space. The crew had only 13 seconds to react before they lost consciousness due to lack of oxygen. They tried to close the valve manually, but it was too late. They died in their seats, without any chance of survival. The ground control did not know what happened until they recovered the capsule from its landing site in Kazakhstan. They opened the hatch, expecting to see the smiling faces of the cosmonauts. Instead, they saw their lifeless bodies, still trapped in their seats. It was a shocking and devastating sight that haunted many people for years. The Soyuz 11 disaster was a huge blow to the Soviet space program to end the world. It was the first and only time that humans died in space. It also marked the end of the Salyut 1 mission, as no other crew visited again. The station re-entered the atmosphere and burned up on October 11th, 1971. The accident prompted an immediate investigation into its cause and consequences. The faulty valve was identified as the main culprit, and it was replaced with a more reliable one in future Soyuz capsules. The investigation also revealed that the crew did not wear any spacesuits during re-entry, which could have saved their lives if they had them on. This was because there was not enough room in the capsule for 3 people with spacesuits. From then on, all Soyuz crews wore spacesuits during launch and landing. But Musk has discovered that there is even more to this incident. He has found that the valve malfunction wasn't an accident, but a deliberate act of sabotage. He has uncovered evidence that someone within the Soviet space program had tampered with the valve, intending to kill the crew. He also learned that this person was not acting alone, but was a part of a plot to undermine the Soviet space program and its achievements. What was behind this plot? What was their motive, and how did they manage to evade detection and justice? And how did this affect the fate of other cosmonauts who were involved in the Salyut program? These are some of the unanswered questions. The Soyuz 11 tragedy raised awareness about the risks and dangers of space exploration and the need for safety measures and precautions. It also inspired respect and admiration for the courage and sacrifice of these cosmonauts who gave their lives for advancing humanity's knowledge of space. Well, this is the end of our journey on the Soyuz 11 mission, one of the most haunting and mysterious cases of disappearances of astronauts in space history. The memory of Dubrovsky, Volkov, and Patsayev lives on in space history as heroes and pioneers. Their names are engraved on several monuments and memorials around the world. Their portraits are displayed in museums and galleries. Their voices are recorded in archives and documentaries. Their legacies honored by generations of space explorers who follow in their footsteps. Well, that's it for today's video. We'll meet you in the next one. But until then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.